Let's start for the details now on today's edition of The Pulse. Now, the former Water and Sanitation Minister, Cecilia Dapaah, walked out of an Accra High Court free and all her money and other items seized to be returned to her within 72 hours, following decision by the Office of the Special Prosecutor to discontinue all cases against her. This decision was taken after a series of in-camera, in-chamber hearings on the matter. The Special Prosecutor for months now has had in its custody monies of Cecilia Dapaah seized when her house was searched as part of the investigations. The office also froze some bank accounts of Cecilia Dapaah for allegedly being tainted with corruption and corruption-related activities. But after 7 months, the Special Prosecutor, Cecilia Dapaah, told the media that on the totality of the evidence gathered and intelligence, it became clear that the case is largely in the province of suspected money laundering.
On 24 July 2023, the office placed Ms. Dapaah under arrest on charges of corruption and corruption-related offenses. The office subsequently conducted searches in 3 residential properties associated with Ms. Dapaah and Mr. Osei at cantonments, Abilinkpe and Tesano in Accra. The searches, which were carried out over a period of 2 weeks, led to the discovery of the cash sums of $590,000 United States dollars and 2,730,000 cedis. Ms. Dapaah and Mr. Osei could not readily provide a reasonable explanation as to the sources of the cash sums. Authorized officers of the office seized the discovered cash sums on reasonable grounds that they were suspected tainted property, in accordance with Section 32(1) of the Office of the Special Prosecutor Act 2017, Act 959, as it was necessary to exercise the power of seizure to prevent concealment of the cash sums. The Special Prosecutor, considering it necessary to facilitate the investigations, issued a freezing order against the bank accounts and investments of Ms. Dapaah, domiciled at Prudential Bank Limited and Societe Generale Ghana. Upon the refusal by the High Court to confirm the freezing and seizure orders in August 2023, the office re-seized the cash sums and refroze the bank accounts and investments and applied to the court again for confirmation. In FT 0074-2023, the Special Prosecutor versus Cecilia Dapaah and Daniel Osei. Extensive investigation was conducted in-country involving 20 persons and 3 state institutions, and especially in the Ashanti region, to establish the financial standing of Ms. Dapaah's deceased brother during his lifetime and at the time of his death, since it was alleged that a substantial portion of the cash sums belonged to Ms. Dapaah's deceased brother. From October 2023, the investigation became cross-border and transboundary upon the claim by the persons of interest that part of the seized cash sums was transported to Ghana from the United States. For that reason, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, of the United States became involved in a collaborative investigative work with the office on the matter. Investigation has been aimed at determining the sources of the large cash sums associated with Ms. Dapaah and Mr. Osei. The office has had the benefit of 7 months of in-country and 4 months of collaborative transboundary investigation. Members of the press, on the totality of the gathered evidence and intelligence, it seems to us that the case is largely in the province of suspected money laundering and structuring. By operation of law, the Economic and Organized Crime Office, EOCO, has a specific and direct mandate in respect of suspected cases of money laundering and its attendant activity of structuring. Of the Special Prosecutor is referring the case to EOCO for continued investigation and further action. The office will be in close collaboration with EOCO and continued collaboration with the FBI. A little over an hour ago, the office discontinued its application that was pending before the High Court for a confirmation of the seizure and freezing orders in pursuance of the referral of the case to EOCO. The court ordered that the office should return the cash sums and defreeze the accounts of an investment of Ms. Dapaah within 72 hours. Office also discontinued the procedural criminal charge against Ms. Dapaah for failure to return forms on declaration of property and income, since that was mounted on the original application for confirmation of the seizure and freezing orders, which was discontinued earlier in time.
Now the question remains whether the entire exercise was a waste of time. Cecilia Dapaah disagrees.
How do you sum it up? Does it suggest that perhaps not a thorough investigation went into it? That's how come all of this is up. Because from what you've told us, the EOCO angle perhaps looks more promising in terms of going on with this case.
Elton, on the contrary, it is the extensive investigation of the Office of the Special Prosecutor with the collaborative work of the FBI that has led us to this conclusion. If the Office of the Special Prosecutor had a direct mandate by law in respect of suspected money laundering and structuring, there will be no such referral. But we operate within the confines of the law. And since the law that created the OSP did not necessarily grant such a direct mandate in respect of suspected money laundering, but the law that created the Economic and Organized Crime Office states specifically that they have a mandate in respect of suspected money laundering. Now, after 7 months of investigation, we have a body of evidence. So if we have come to the conclusion that it suggests, it seems to us that it is more in relation to suspected money laundering, then the proper thing to do is to refer it to the state institution, which by law has a direct mandate, as stated in the Act.
I'm Joseph Akabla. The first question has to do with the intervening period between now and when EOCO takes over. I know that the whole idea of the freezing and seizure order was to preserve those assets and prevent them from being dissipated. The court has given an order. Are there any plans to collaborate with EOCO perhaps for them to hold on to it within this period? And the second one, there are those who also make the point that maybe at the initial levels, a careful analysis maybe would have led you to this conclusion even before you commenced. How do you react to those who say that from the onset they pointed you to this conclusion as one that you arrive at?
All right. See, hindsight wisdom is always awesome. Those who are saying that are only doing so with hindsight wisdom, it's because we've had 7 months of such extensive investigation to come to the conclusion we've arrived at. You cannot begin a case when you cannot begin making conclusions on a case a week or two after commencing investigation. But after piecing together all your evidence and all the testimony and everything that you have done, something should then suggest to you. If after 7 months we did not have anything, we will just let it go. You get it? But after 7 months, I think that we should be commended that we've been able to do such extensive work and have international collaboration as part of this matter. That is to say, we left no stone unturned, and that is what is leading us to this outcome as I just announced. So once again, I will say, it is very nice to have hindsight wisdom, but we did not have the benefit of hindsight wisdom. We have arrived at the present wisdom through hard work and sheer grit.
I just want to, if there's an update on the payroll audit, which you announced at your last news conference with us, and whether you are getting the needed cooperation from those who are asking the question. And secondly, I'm just going through your half-year report, and the one that came up in June, the one that came up in January, almost a repetition of the many cases before you, and the ones you've come to a conclusion on, the Charles Dubois Hen, the issue about the other matters. My question is, there's been a lot of repetition in most of the reports that you've come up with, and Ghanaians have faith in this office to lead a fight against corruption. Should we continue to still have faith in you, that the mandate you've been given will inure to the benefit of the country, in view of the fact that after the establishment of the office, clearly for a lot of people, we are yet to see clear-cut conviction on the many cases that are before you? Thank you.
The day you lose faith in this office is the day the soul of this country dies. See, the repetition you see is merely as a result of the period within which the law requires the office to report, 6 months. See, even when you are prosecuting a matter in court, 6 months, by the reckoning, it's like a day. You get it? If the law had required us to periodic reports, let's say 2 years, 3 years, you won't see this level of repetition. But what is so bad about repetition, especially when the matter is still pending and the matter is not yet resolved? And you would see that although much of it looks like repetition, there's always a slight update in respect of the cases. Some are moved up in respect of the level at which the office has gotten to and whether the office is going to take further action. So you see that case reported in June, that the office is still ongoing with the investigations. Then in December, you see that the office has concluded the investigation in respect of that matter and that the special prosecutor will be giving further directions along those lines.
So that's the special prosecutor, Cecilia Dapaah, earlier this morning at the office of the OSP, updating us on decision they've taken regarding the prosecution of former Water and Sanitation Minister Cecilia Dapaah. And of course, he also took advantage of the press conference to update us on some of the cases that are before it. So we are now going to explore what we're told this morning and to establish whether the fight against corruption is still ongoing and whether or not you are surprised about the outcome of the special prosecutor's case against Madam Cecilia Dapaah. You can join us via our social media handles and leave your comment there. But let me bring in now Edem Senanu. He's with Stand Ghana. We'll also be speaking to private legal practitioner Ni Papo Samuel Ado with some perspective on the matter. Mr. Senanu, you're welcome to the pause here on Joy News.
Thank you for having me.
Right. So you've been listening to Mr. Cecilia Dapaah justifying the reasons why his office is unable to continue with the prosecution of Madam Cecilia Dapaah and has referred aspects of the case to EOCO. What is your initial response to this?
Well, I am delighted that they've been able to get to the point where the FBI has confirmed that some of these monies are tainted, which tells us that the investigation was not without benefit. The challenge is that in our jurisdiction, the money laundering that the FBI has said they feel that there's significant reason to say that there's been money laundering comes under a different agency. And so now it will put to test the capacity for inter-agency collaboration to see this case to an end. And that's where I see a challenge. But otherwise, having stayed the course and brought the FBI on board and being able to establish that there is a problem, I think that it is a justification for they having taken the effort to go through the process.
But overall, are you satisfied with the way the OSP has handled this matter?
Well, I think so. I think that two things have stood out in the course of this. One, the court challenges they've had where over and over again they were asked to defreeze and release. In my mind, we should have a framework where once investigations are on, at least for a certain period, perhaps at least about 6 months, the agency is allowed to do its investigation. And I think the OSP needs to work much more strongly with the judiciary, such that these things can happen, because at the end of the day, the facts will be available to all of us to assess whether the conclusions they are drawing are valid or they are not, they don't have the legitimacy based on the facts and evidence adduced. So I think that the court experiences tended to make us wonder, are we working together or not? I think that internally also, the fact that our law separates things into different agencies, maybe we need to look at that closely so that we are not having a situation where somebody begins and along the line, you've got to give to somebody else and we're not too sure what the outcome will be.
All right, so just hold on for me there. Let me bring in private legal practitioner Ni Papo Samoa Ado. Let's also pick his initial reaction to the announcement by the Office of the Special Prosecutor this morning. Counsel, you're welcome to the pause. You enjoy this.
Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to your listeners and your viewers.
And it's great to have you here. So, first of all, let me ask you your initial reaction to the position taken by the OSP relating to Madam Cecilia Dapaah.
Well, I think it's the honorable thing to do. I mean, you wouldn't want a situation where a law enforcement agency realizes that it's the investigation or its jurisdiction has been invoked. It goes into a matter and realizes that, well, the results of my investigations show that the matters are no longer matters that by law I am allowed to investigate, and yet will stubbornly hang on to those matters and pretend as if it has a mandate to do. That was mark of persecution. So it has gone into the matter. The OSP realizes that, well, the investigations do not point me to offenses that my act allows me to investigate, but there's something that I think that another agency or law enforcement agency is more equipped and better placed or positioned to look into. So it has referred the matter to EOCO, and it has given hints that there are issues of money laundering and other things that must be looked at by EOCO. So now we would now expect the Economic and Organized Crime Office to now go into the matter and give us further and better, clarification. So it is not as if Madam Cecilia Dapaah has been declared, or the investigations, let me put this, the investigations have been declared to have come to an end. No, another state agency is now being asked to look into this matter because investigations have pointed to another set of possible offenses which that agency is mandated to investigate. So I think as the media, your responsibility now is to go to EOCO and ask the executive director what he or she is doing in respect of the referral. One, has there been a referral? That's the first thing we must ascertain. Has the OSP by a letter and a docket referred this matter to the EOCO office? That's the first thing you must find out. Two, what are the details of the investigations that have been sent to EOCO? Has EOCO commenced any investigations? Have they invited Madam Cecilia Dapaah? Have they taken a statement from her? What are the next steps that they are taking? Are they freezing the assets? Because now the matter is squarely in the hands of EOCO. And if we know EOCO's mandate, we know that where they are engaged in investigations and there are alleged proceeds of crime, the law allows them to go to court to seek a freezing order. So within these 72 hours, which the court has given to the OSP to release the funds, if indeed the OSP has acted proactively, that's the key word, has acted proactively, and has handed over the docket and all information, relevant information, to the EOCO office, I expect the EOCO office to be heading to court seeking a freezing order on the said funds, because the OSP was categorical that the funds that were under investigations are possible proceeds of money laundering, and corruption. So there is enough for the EOCO office to at least, as a first step, seek a court order to freeze those assets.
Right. So setting the EOCO angle aside, the OSP initial road, the road that it took was to establish the fact that the money it had taken from the home of Madam Cecilia Dapaah were tainted property, and then went on to also institute another case against her where the OSP said that she failed to declare her assets and property when the form was provided to her. These were the two matters that initially engaged the attention of the OSP, and later the angle of the money laundering came in. Do you think, upon a hindsight, looking at the mandate of the OSP, investigation is one of it. If thorough investigation was done, and the way things went on in the court, would you say that the OSP did a good job?
Well, the OSP is not there. The thing is this: the OSP is not there to declare anybody guilty or not guilty. That's the first thing everybody must understand. A prosecutor is not a persecutor, and an investigator does not arrive at pre-arranged conclusions. So once a report is made, it has a duty to what? Investigate. It is when you investigate that you come to some conclusions. So you cannot fault the OSP for investigating. If it did not investigate, we will be the same people shouting and crying that this OSP is in bed with the government and is not doing its work and all that. My concern now is that what is the OSP, has the OSP sent or transferred the docket to what? To EOCO?
The information I've picked is that they've done so.
Okay, so if you can confirm they've done so, what is EOCO doing? Because remember, the proceeds is what we in the public are interested in. If the proceeds disappear, the investigation is useless. So within the 72-hour window, has EOCO gone to court to get a court-freezing order? That is what we should be interested in.
So the court has given the OSP 72 hours to return.
No, you don't get it. Listen.
Yes.
Now the matter is with EOCO. EOCO on its own is mandated by its act to get a freezing order on suspected funds that are proceeds of money laundering. Do you understand? So unless you are telling me, see, the thing is this: if we allow within the 72 hours or after the 72 hours the proceeds to go back to the alleged suspect,
right,
and the money gets missing, what are you investigating? So what we should be interested in is whether EOCO has prepared the necessary documents and is heading to court, you understand, to freeze those assets.
But that action, I'm sure, can happen after the OSP has complied with the directive of the court. That will be a separate...
But why do you have to wait?
No, you don't have to wait.
Yes, but I'm saying that will be a separate action that only EOCO can undertake.
That is the thing. No, you don't have to wait. You see,
that's the point he's making.
No, I'm saying that these are two independent bodies. EOCO can take the step to freeze these actions. That is on their own. But for now, the court says that.
Yes, listen. At the end of the day, the OSP has come to the conclusion that the monies, and it made a categorical statement. It said the monies per its investigations are not corruption offense related matters for which it can investigate. However, its conclusions point to a money laundering, you understand, scheme and some structuring meant to do money laundering. Money laundering falls within the firm ambit of EOCO.
Right.
Once the matter had been referred to EOCO, before it went to court, the OSP went to court today to inform the court that it was no longer investigating the matters, and so it is discontinuing the case. And then the court, of course, will make a consequential order, release the money. If I'm the lawyer for the accused person, I'll say, yes, I want my money back. The OSP had done the state a good service by referring the matter to EOCO. We are expected, that is what I'm asking you, the journalists, to do. Go to EOCO and ask EOCO. You have, number one, have you received the docket? You have confirmed to me that you have checked from EOCO, and indeed, have you checked from EOCO to find out whether they have received the docket from the OSP?
For the information you have, that the OSP, they've provided EOCO with all the information that EOCO needs.
No, I'm asking whether you have checked from EOCO.
EOCO is unable to. EOCO is unable to respond to the matter as of now. That is the information we have.
Why wouldn't they respond? It's a matter of public knowledge. If you put in a right of information request, they cannot deny it.
Of course.
You have every right to ask them. You are not asking them for the details of the investigation. You are asking them whether the OSP has transferred the docket to you. They will have to confirm. Then you must work your sources and find out. The second point is that, are they inclined to go for an order to freeze the assets? If those assets are released to the suspect and they get missing, you are wasting your time. Then our fight against corruption is useless.
So what do you expect?
That's what I'm saying.
So counsel, what do you expect to be done within the 72 hours that this money is expected to go back to the original owner?
I think that the OSP has done very well by referring the matter to EOCO, even before it went to court, to inform the court formally about the fact that it was no longer conducting investigations into this matter. That means that it has given its sister institution enough time, number one, to study the docket, number two, to proactively go to court and seek a freezing order. And they are giving that freezing order without even a court order, so that they can independently freeze the assets and go to court for confirmation. And this has to do with what? Money laundering, allegedly. So that is what we are expecting EOCO to do. Any, well, I wouldn't say deliberate, but any delay on the part of EOCO to go to court to get a freezing order will defeat the purpose of fighting corruption in this country.
Adam, you wanted to make a point.
Well, yeah, I think he's made the point very, very concisely. The thing is that one would have expected that the OSP has already engaged EOCO, alerted them, prepared them in advance that, our investigations together with the FBI over the last 7 months, in the last 4 months especially, point in a particular direction. What that means is that in our jurisdiction, the other jurisdictions where money laundering would have come under the special prosecutor, here it doesn't. So we are going to have to hand this over to you. We want you to be aware of the facts. And we are going to court to establish that we are we're terminating our interest and handing over to you. What should have happened by now is that EOCO, seized with the facts, would also prepare to go to court to make sure that all the sums of money potentially tainted based on the money laundering, context, are being frozen. And that's the point that Nee's making. I absolutely agree with that. We would have lost the case. Don't you remember ABAJ? Before we knew it, in between these court processes, the money had disappeared. And then what's the case about? So we are all expecting that media will start asking that question. EOCO, are you going to court? Mind you, we are approaching a weekend, and therefore the question is that by Monday, what will we be hearing? Anything except for having also frozen so that they can also do the investigation. Because normally when you hand over from one agency to another, that agency too will have to do its background checks and due diligence to arrive at its own conclusions. So between now and Monday, the question is, what is going to happen? What is EOCO going to do?
In fact, what I can say for sure is that on the part of the OSP, they tell us that they provided all the information and they stand in readiness to assist EOCO if they should need any further information on the investigation they've conducted relating to the subject of money laundering that they have established on Madam Cecilia Dapaah. EOCO, they've not confirmed receipt of this. All information we have picked from our sources is that they are unable to comment as of now. And so
that's what is worrying. I wish we could get exactly. That's what's worrying. Well, how can they not confirm if the docket has been given to them, if the facts have been given to them? What's the difficulty in confirming? In fact, that's the challenge we have with the other anti-corruption agencies. It is why in the OSP law we put that 6-month thing. But all of them should have learned by now that citizens of Ghana prefer that you are upfront with us. You come regularly to a public space and tell us what you are doing. Otherwise, how is the public service? How are you serving the best interests of this country if you cannot tell us whether you are seized with the facts and you have the docket? That is not the way to go.
But Adam, generally on the way the OSP has conducted itself on this matter and other matters, you are an anti-corruption agent. Are you happy with the way it is progressing? I put a question to Mr. Cecilia Dapaah. He says that the day this office is closed down, then we'd have lost the fight against corruption.
Well, I'll tell you, the only institution that gives me some hope at the moment, significantly, is the Office of the Special Prosecutor. The only group that seems to be proactive, appear to be not taking sides and objective, are focused on getting their job done, and are not afraid to speak to the issues. I'm not to slight anybody, but I feel like the young people there are showing us that they are people with integrity and honesty who can do the hard work to get results. If all the other agencies were doing what is going on in the Office of the Special Prosecutor, trust me, the impunity we see would have been reduced. But because many of the other places we are not seeing results, we are not getting feedback, people think that, it's a laissez-faire. Anybody can do what they want. So as far as I'm concerned, I think that the OSP has done very well. I am glad that they to their focus, money to get the FBI on board. I think that is a very significant achievement, to get the FBI on board, for them to also do the investigation and provide additional facts that get us in a certain direction. I think that they should be commended for how far they have come.
Counsel, same question. I mean, some few months ago, the OSP was in the news accusing some members in the judiciary of frustrating his work. Now, you have looked at the half-year report and all the work that is done. Are we on course? Is the fight against corruption within reach?
Unfortunately, I didn't hear the question.
No, I was asking, I mean, you have followed the work of the OSP, and some few months ago, the OSP was in the news accusing some members of the judiciary of frustrating his work. And I'm saying that you have also studied the half-year report.
I'm having a difficulty.
Is it better now?
I can hear you now.
Thank you very much. So I was asking, I mean, you followed the activities of the special, very well. You have followed the activities of the special prosecutor. In October, he was in the news accusing some members of the judiciary of frustrating the work of the OSP. You've read the half-year reports. Are you convinced that we are on the right track in terms of dealing with corruption and corruption-related activity, as far as the OSP is concerned?
Okay, so this was my reaction back then to issues to do with his complaints then. I said, one, the OSP needs to hold dialogue with the judicial service. And I was happy when the judicial service issued a joint communique with the office of the OSP in respect of interinstitutional cooperation. Because it's important. The second was that I recommended that the rules of court committee needs to look at making specific court rules in respect of the office of the OSP and how it will undertake its prosecutions. It's important because you see, the OSP's office is a specialized agency. Number one, it needs its own specialized courts. Number two, its rules, the rules or operational rules, how it is supposed to deal with its investigations and also its orders, the orders it can seek from the court so as to extend its investigations, orders on the freezing and all that, they need to be relooked at. Because you see, if the rules are like the normal court rules, what happens is you can actually incapacitate the ability of the OSP to achieve speedy and early resolution of matters. At the same time, you must also balance the rights of the suspects. So I think some of the challenges that he's facing calls for a relook at its operational rules and also the rules of court that it would govern it when it comes to its court-related matters. So those were the major things I called for by way of, institutional reform and legal reform in respect of the work of the OSP. Right. But generally, I think that there's room for improvement. There's room for, better communication. There's room for better interagency relations, and I think that by and large, if we do these things, we can continue to try and defeat the canker of corruption, because the day we give up on the fight against corruption, forget it, Ghana is doomed.
All right, thank you very much. Let's end it here. And we are still keeping an eye. We are still working to get you responses especially from the EOCO, the initial responses that they are unable to comment on this matter. But we do understand that the Office of the Special Prosecutor provided them with all the information, all the documentation that they require, and they've made it clear that they stand in readiness to provide even more should they require of them. So we'll check on that. But I'd like to say a very big thank you for joining us as we explore the matters that came up this morning. Private legal practitioner Ni Samuel Papuado, and of course Adam Senenu with Sen Ghana, an anti-corruption agent. Adam, thank you very much for your time. All right.